Don't just live for tomorrow, or just live in yesterday. Just be glad for all you have that's in today. And though you've come through many obstacles.
Hey everyone, Connie here, and welcome to my blind reaction to The Boys, Season 2, Episode 5. So, last time, we got a lot. Homelander is starting to get upset, and that's never a good thing. We have Butcher kind of pushing away Becca because he's too obsessed with his hatred of the supers that he's also showing some discrimination towards Becca's son just because he happens to also be Homelander's son. And just a lot of shit going on with Stormfront, who we find out is a racist piece of shit and has been for a long time because years and years and years and years, decades ago, she operated under a different hero name, Liberty, and was an excessive, horrifying racist back then, as we saw when she absolutely horrifically murdered this black man and literally said it was because he was black. And it's just, hate her. It's like they went in this season from making Stormfront kind of likable, like this feminist kind of really interesting, likable character, to, oh my god, I fucking hate you, I want you to die. So it's like, I kind of have to give some credit to the boys for that, for like making us have such a heavy turn on Stormfront so quickly. But let's be honest, we kind of knew it was coming at the same time. It's like we kind of expected that she was going to be bad too, that she wasn't just going to be this cool feminist hero in this series, that she was going to have like some darkness to her as well. I did not expect her to be on the same level as Homelander, though. I mean, you just don't expect anyone to be on the same level as Homelander. But no, she's up there. So that's fun. That's fun. Good times. I don't know what to expect as we go forward with this season, but Homelander is on the path to just completely snapping. And if he snaps, someone's going to die. I mean, people have already died this season, but, you know, like probably someone important or something bad is going to happen. Let's put it that way. Honestly, I would not be surprised if at some point he snapped and just started killing civilians. And of course, Vought would try to just sweep it under the rug and make some excuse for it, but I would not be surprised if that happened. Of course, I also wouldn't be surprised if he snapped and killed, like, I don't know, Ashley or even Mr. Edgar. Honestly, I feel like those two could easily be taken out. Not that I don't like them or anything. I love them, especially Mr. Edgar, because Giancarlo Esposito is a phenomenal actor. And the actress for Ashley does a really good job too. But it's just like, if anyone's gonna die, I could see it being one of those too. I don't see any of the boys, and I don't really see any of the seven dying. I don't see it. I just don't feel like it would make a lot of sense, unless it is Stormfront, and that like kind of is where this season maybe culminates in like her and Homelander maybe fighting. That would be insane if the two most horrible people in this had a fight and like Homelander ended up killing her. That would be absolutely nuts. in kind of a really fun way. I actually kind of hope that happens now. although, although honestly, I think there are much better people who deserve to kill her more, such as Kimiko. But that would still be fun to see that happen. But yeah, I have no clue where this is going to go at this point. There's just so many plot threads that are just, you gotta wonder where it's all heading. Well, at least for this episode, let's find out. So, when the screen fades to black, pause this redirect and go to the description below. Follow the link to the reaction, and after you watch it, come back here to the redirect and resume play. Because after it fades to black and then fades back in, everything from that point forward will be my afterthoughts and will contain spoilers to the episode. So, that being said, thank you so much for tuning in, and I'll see you at the reaction. And we are back, and we'll begin with spoilers in 3, 2, 1, now. So, as always, if I forget to mention anything, because I might, let me know. I'm going to try to get to everything that I can, talk about the events of this episode as much as I possibly can here. But if I forget anything, let me know in the comments. I can let you know my thoughts on anything that happened. So let's talk about the different things that happened in this. And we're going to start with some of the more minor things and move our way up. So let's start with the Deep. So the Deep has officially gotten married to this girl that was chosen for him by the Church of the Collective. And we see that he's even doing a commercial now for the church, which is really interesting because I don't think churches do commercials normally in real life. At least I don't think I've ever seen any. Are they allowed to? Like, can churches actually make advertisements and put them on television? I actually don't know. Because I know, like, there's some, like, companies and businesses that can't due to the fact that, like, it's just not allowed, like, such as with cigarettes and stuff. You can't make a cigarette commercial these days. But it's like, I don't know if churches can do that. You know? But I never see any church commercials for anything. The only time I ever see religion in a commercial is when it's a political ad and it's a conservative politician just talking about it or something. So it's like, I don't know. That just seems weird to me. And it's like they're a cult for sure, but they're still technically a church. So it's like, I don't know. Of course, it could be different in this world too, to be fair. But we see also that eventually Queen Maeve comes to him to ask for them to kind of scratch each other's backs, just do something for each other to help each other out. And so that's about all we got from the Deep. And speaking of Queen Maeve, let's go to her to explain why she went to the Deep in the first place. So, as part of this movie that they're doing, this Dawn of the Seven movie, they've now, thanks to Homelander outing Maeve, they're now adding Maeve and her homosexuality and stuff into the film. And they're also trying to do this promotion with her and Elena, I think it is, going through all of that about her, about this. And they're even trying to, like, label her as a lesbian rather than bisexual, which she actually is. On top of that, they're trying to force the two to still adhere to, like, gender roles and stuff. Like, one of them, even though they're both girls, one of them has to be, like, more masculine. They can't both be feminine. And it's just like, you just really, really want us to hate Vought, don't you? Like, speaking to the writers and everything for this, because it's like, we're hating Vought already, but it's like, oh my fucking god. And maybe it's because I'm queer myself, but it's like, oh my fucking God. It's like, I feel so bad for these two having to go through this bullshit. It's performative bullshit. That's all it is. They're trying to act like allies and try, but they're really doing is using them, using their queerness to try and monetize it. Basically, it's really fucked up. Like, my God. But it looks like Maeve has had enough because after Elena storms off, Maeve goes to comfort her and assures her, it's like, we're going to take that motherfucker out, talking about Homelander, because he has been the big threat to them. Maeve is scared that if they don't go along with things, Homelander will hurt or even kill Elena. Maeve is scared for that. She doesn't want that to happen. And obviously, Elena would be scared of that too. So they need to plan something else. And whatever Maeve is planning, I'm all aboard for it. As I said in the reaction, Maeve is probably one of my favorite characters. In fact, I'd say not even probably, definitely. Not as high up there as Starlight or Huey for me, but she's definitely up there. I just love her character arc. I love what they've been doing with her, and I love that she is one of the good ones. But I have a lot of questions about other heroes now after this episode, and I'll get to that in a bit. So after that, we have A-Train. A-Train has only really one part in this episode, but it is kind of important for his character arc, it seems. So also being written into the movie now is that he's leaving, even though that makes no sense for the context of the film, which apparently is supposed to be like how the Seven was formed. It's the dawn of the Seven. So having A-Train leave in it makes no actual sense. But either way, they're adding that in since he's being taken out of the Seven in real life. And he's not a fan of this expository farewell message that he's supposed to say at the end of it. He's rewritten it, but the director's not going to go with it. He's going to complain at first, but Ashley unfortunately tells him, it's like, you either do this or you kind of lose everything. And it's like, he doesn't really have a choice. He just kind of has to comply. But you could tell he's getting really sick of this too. He might end up turning on Vought. I think that possibility does exist. But we'll see. And then there's Homelander. So Homelander has been progressively getting more and more, again, the word I've been using is upset. He's been getting more and more upset as time goes on. And because of everything that's been happening, he's been on the verge of snapping. And we see that kind of culminates when he goes to a protest against him. See, apparently he was caught on video killing civilians overseas. And this caused his popularity to drop by 9 points, which is a huge drop. It's dropped so much that people are now protesting against him. And there's even this politician who's leading these protests. Well, at one point, he decides to go to the protest against him. And he starts to speak out and tries to, like, turn everything around for him. Tries to say, this isn't that bad. It's like, I'm just trying to fight the terrorists and stuff. But nobody is falling for it. Absolutely nobody. And they're just, like, chanting against him. And that moment where he used his lasers and started, like, just wiping them out en masse scared the shit out of me. It's like, it didn't make me, it's not like one of those moments that made me jump like in previous episodes, but it more scared me. Like, I was legitimately frightened at what he was doing there. I'm glad it was only him imagining doing it, although that still is absolutely horrifying that was what he wanted to do. But oh my God, like, I legitimately thought he was doing that. And I was thinking, like, as I said, there would be no coming back from that if he had actually done that. There would be no way to spin that positively. He would have been done, completely done. That would have completely fucked everything for him. And you almost kind of wish that that would have happened just because it would have fucked over everything for him. But at the same time, it's like that would make him even more dangerous. Plus, and not even plus, more importantly, that would still cause a shit ton of deaths, like hundreds of deaths and everything for however many people were there. And that's the more important aspect of it, and that you can't just deny. Like, no matter how much it would hurt Homelander, you can't just be okay with that. God, it freaked me out so much, though. I am glad it was just his imagination, even if that is still horrifying. But he ends up eventually going to Stormfront, who helps him make some memes that does help bring his score back up a bit by 5 points. So he's still down 4 points from where he originally was, meaning there are still people who aren't falling for these memes and everything. But the fact that there are that many people falling for the memes is concerning. And the sad part is, I feel like that's realistic. People tend to like take a lot of things at face value, so it's like they see a meme about stuff like that, and it's like they just accept it. Like there was the one meme that it showed that Stormfront and her, I guess you could call them a crew, had made, showing like, oh, this is it had a red circle around the dead body, and it's like, oh, this is clearly photoshopped. Um, and it's like, no one with a brain would fall for that. But you know, a lot of people would fall for that. And it goes to show what you mean there, what I mean there. There are a lot of people who would fall for that shit, like with absolutely no actual evidence to support that idea. But they would fall for it because they'll just fall for anything like that. Who needs to think when you have memes, right? It's annoying, but it's realistic, and I hate it. Um, and eventually, because of everything working out for him again, a little better at least, he and Stormfront fuck. And apparently, she has like some kind of super healing factor or something. Because he can laser her, and while it does definitely cause her pain and does leave a mark, it seems to not actually do any real damage to her, and it's implied that it will heal. She has him laser her tits and gets off to it. It's like that's just masochism. And it's like that's I'm not into that kind of shit. If anyone's into that kind of stuff, if you're like into like getting dominated or whatever, BDSM and all, that's completely fine and valid. I'm not here to kink shame, but I'm not into it. Um, Probably because I have sensitive skin, but also because it's like I'm very much just a sensitive person. So that kind of stuff kind of scares me a little, admittedly. But again, it's perfectly valid for anyone who's into that kind of thing, but it's not for me at all. Um, and it's I'm just looking at this, like looking at that happen. I'm like, what are you? Do you two need therapy? Because it's like that was even going beyond just simple like kinky masochism or anything. That was like scary. Like, because we've seen what his lasers can do in this same episode. We've seen what his lasers can do, and even if she can take it, it's still just scary to think about. But yeah, they fuck because that's what we need. Two horrifying, evil, just absolutely disgusting pieces of shit to be on each other's side. I think I liked it better when they were enemies because at least then they weren't aligned with each other. With them aligned with each other, that's much more dangerous. Oh, and I almost forgot when talking about A Train, Stormfront's starting to actually be a lot more upfront about her racism too. Like she wasn't even being subtle when she was talking to A Train about it. Um, the racism was just flying, and he very much caught it. It's just, oh my god, I hate her so much. You see what Kimiko did in this episode to that one, the one guy ripped off like his face, like peeled it away. I would love to see like someone, probably Kimiko, do that to Stormfront, and then rip her head off and shove it up her ass. I want her to die. I really despise her. I despise her racism so fucking much. I hate her. I legitimately do. Anywho, moving along from that, um, we also had a bit of a storyline with Annie in this one. Just kind of coming back from everything and having to deal with her mother being there. So that's fun. And her mother apparently has told Stormfront everything. And it is like just things are going on. Stormfront's telling her mother things, and it's like, ooh, everything's just kind of personal shit's getting mixed in with non-personal shit, and it's just not really okay. And Stormfront's not, or not Stormfront, Annie's not okay with it. So she confronts Stormfront later on, but as a only as a cover to what she's actually doing in there, which is to look up information. And while Stormfront doesn't fall for it and realizes it's just acting, she also confronts Annie about slipping the information to the news about Compound V. And blatantly says, oh, I'm going to reveal you, by the way. And then Annie's like, oh, well, and then I'm going to reveal the stuff about you. And it's like, oh, okay. And then Homelander comes in and makes it awkward. And it's just like, I just, please, someone kill her. Stormfront, that is, of course. We just need her to die. And of course, we have the stuff with the boys. And to start that, we of course have to talk about Kimiko and Frenchie. Because they've been kind of doing their own thing for a couple episodes here. Even though they're members of the boys as well, which I guess really isn't an official group or anything, or an official title for the group or anything. That's just what we call them. They've been doing their own thing ever since the death of Kimiko's brother. Kimiko has been just reeling with emotions and just not being able to really handle them. And Frenchie's been trying to be there for her, but also not trying to overstep his boundaries, because he tried to kiss her before and that kind of went poorly. So in this, we see that she's being hired out by Frenchie's other partner to take out these people, these criminals. And we see that Frenchie tries to confront her about this, but obviously she can't really speak to him because the only way she really knows how, or the only way she's really able to, is through her and her brother's sign language, which no one else knew. Because of her trauma, she doesn't speak. She can't speak. So there's no other really way unless she writes it down. But I don't know. It's just, we have that barrier of communication right now that's kind of tearing them apart, and both of them are frustrated with each other, but both of them are clearly like not meaning what they're saying and are just like upset. I'm really wondering where this storyline is going because it's being kept separate from the rest of the stuff with the boys. So I'm wondering what they're going to do with this and how it's going to eventually integrate back in. But then we get to the rest of the boys. So Butcher or Huey calls Butcher, and the latter is just in a complete state of depression. He's just ready to give up, to let everything go, and he's just done. And so Huey hears some things on the phone, and he tells Milk about it, and they end up finding out exactly where Butcher was going. They end up meeting him there at Butcher's aunt's place, and they try to confront him, but he just kind of wants to end it. He's actually feeling a bit suicidal, which I understand because he's going through he went through a big bout of depression there, and as someone who's gone through depression and suicide, like I get it. I've been suicidal myself. I've known people who have committed suicide, so it's a very, very heavy thing, and I'm not blaming Butcher at all, especially because everything he had put his life into these past years has been to rescue his wife, and now she doesn't want him because of his own actions, his own words, his own biases. He's excessively depressed because of that. It's like, I get that. And so he's ready to just kind of end it all. And when Black Noir comes along, following him and everything, looking for him, because we know he had been trying to find him, we see that he's ready to like sacrifice himself to let the others escape. They don't let him do this though, and we have this big like Home Alone trap situation to try and stop Black Noir, but eventually it culminates in a face down between Black Noir and Butcher with the others by the side. And that's when we see that apparently Mr. Edgar is watching through like a camera on Black Noir, I guess. He calls Black Noir, who hands the phone to Butcher, and Butcher had like given this ultimatum. It's like, you let me go, or you can kill me, but if you do, I'll send out all this information, ruin your fucking lives, and it's just like I'm gonna reveal everything about Homelander's child and all. And so Mr. Edgar makes a deal with him. It's like, oh yeah, don't release that information. We'll let you go. Butcher accepts. Mr. Edgar tells Black Noir to let him go, and Black Noir heads out. It's as simple as that. And Butcher tells Huey afterwards that he does have those pictures and all. But it almost kind of plays it as if he was lying. Like he winks at him, and it's like, yeah, of course I do. Wink. And it's like, oh, okay, so you don't? I assume he doesn't, mind you. I assume he doesn't, but it's like, I don't know, that was just a little bit weird. And after the fact of everything happening and all, Butcher kind of he's respecting Huey a lot more, and he's come to kind of like find his resolve again to rescue Becca. He's back on that, which is good. Definitely healthier for him. And we also have found out why Butcher has seemed to grasp onto Huey and everything, and why he now is getting more attached to him even. Huey reminds him of his deceased younger brother, Lenny. And Lenny was apparently so special and important to Butcher that he was the only one who could get Butcher to like stop just his aggression and everything. And so that's really interesting. I wonder if we'll find out more. Because we didn't actually find out like how or why Lenny is no longer around in this episode. That was interrupted. So maybe we'll find out more about that next episode or just later on. But overall, this was another really good episode, really progressed things, both good and bad. And I'm just afraid for what this new alliance between Homelander and Stormfront is going to bring for us. Because it's not going to be anything good, especially when Homelander has been having thoughts about mass murder of innocent civilians. Fun. But either way, tell me your thoughts on this episode of The Boys down in the comments below, and thank you so much for tuning in. For now, I'm Connie, and I'm signing off. See you all next time.